All right, good morning, Coach. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing very well. Uh, New with this tight end room, can you evaluate kind of what you have? You have, Peyton and Matt Bjorson have played a lot of football as well as Cam at South Alabama. But how about guys like TJ Ivy and Gary Cooper and AJ Barner coming in? Just evaluate your room a little bit, please.
Yeah. So I thought our big emphasis for spring was just to try to develop depth. You didn't have Peyton out there, so it gave everybody an opportunity really to get equal reps. And you got a chance to see a guy like TJ Ivy do some different things that he did play some last year, so I was able to watch him on tape, but not to see it up close and personal. So I feel like TJ had a good spring. Another guy you mentioned, Gary Cooper. I mean, his skill set is probably totally different than everybody else in the room just because of the speed factor. I mean, in testing, I think he was one of the top 4 or 5 guys on our team in regards to speed. So, he's, not quite as big, but, the quickness and speed, I think, helps make him a different type of player that we can plug and play with. And Gary played some last year as well. So, both TJ and Gary, it's not like that, they haven't played any downs. It was just a little bit more limited. And then we had some guys, in the room, Ryan Barnes being one, who's a walk-on kid from Noblesville, Indiana, who I also thought, had a good 4 practice spring as well as he could have. So, along with Matt, those 4 guys, I was really concerned going into spring is because of lack of depth, that we get through 15 practices and get done what we wanted to get done. But, they got a lot of quality reps and felt like we came out of it kind of having an idea of where we're at. We're going to add Cam Taylor to the mix. I think that provides more depth as well. So feel pretty good about where we're at going into the summer really, and to see how it plays out, once we're able to put pads on and get to practice.
Zach, go ahead.
Coach, I guess I just wanted to ask, and I know we've probably talked to you about this a little bit before, and I know that obviously the circumstances aren't what anyone would have imagined, but just what it's been like for you now that you've been back in Indiana for a few months. Obviously a state you're very familiar with, and I imagine you've been out recruiting a little bit and different things like that. Just kind of what have these last few months been like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I got hired in January and jumped on a plane, and I think 2 days later they sent me right back to South Florida. So I was down here recruiting for a couple of weeks, and recruiting ended. And then I settled into my apartment in Bloomington there through the 4 spring practices. So about mid-March, while my family stayed and finished up school in Bradenton. So went home with a backpack in mid-March, just expecting to be back in a week, and campus closed down. So, I've actually been working remotely here from Bradenton, Florida, which nobody knows that other than if the sun shines a little more right now. But it's been, it's one where I'm just really excited to get back on campus, and as things open up and we're able to go into our offices, we're moving the family, we're packing things, we're ready to go. They're finishing school, and just excited to get going, quite honestly, and excited to be back in Indiana.
Olivia.
Sure. I wanted to see or hear who maybe has impressed you most so far remotely from your group of guys. I know it's tougher to do it off the field, but who's really kind of taken ownership of your group of guys so far?
Oh, we're sitting in virtual meetings, and sometimes the position coach probably talks too much, quite honestly. But I think that you see the older guys. I mean, you see a guy like Matt Bornson, who really stepped up, during spring practice, and he was thrust into the position of being the guy. So you see Matt stepping up from his home. I think he was in Florida at one point, then he went back to the Chicago area. But honestly, everybody's really been great. I mean, it's one of those things where you've had to put more on kids to be more disciplined, because they got to know, have to have that awareness, and we talked a lot about just having a daily regimen and being locked in and focused. So I felt really good about, everybody in the room, they were all over the country, quite honestly, and some of them still are, just their ability to buy in and get things done. We were in meeting rooms. And then, what we're going to find out, of course, is, what they did when they were outside the meeting rooms, working out, doing those types of things on their own. And that's one of those things where, I think we should gain an edge, quite honestly. I think our guys really bought in. And whether you were working out in your garage doing body weight exercises or we sent guys resistance bands, we sent them dumbbells, they had a running program, all those things. I think we'll find out who really stepped up when we actually get a chance to get back together and see, run a few wind sprints and just do some things physically, because at the end of the day, everybody looks good on in the virtual world when we're in a Zoom meeting. But really been excited just with the group and the way they've responded and just being on point, because, it's really easy when you're at home, maybe to be a couple minutes late or sometimes even, forget because they were trying to do classwork and just had a lot of things going on, and everybody's home situation was different as well. So, but to answer your question, I think Matt did a tremendous job, in Peyton's absence there early, and that kind of carried over into the last few weeks here.
Kbrockway.
Hey, Coach. What did you see in Cam Taylor's? What do you see in his potential upside? How involved were you in the recruiting process with him as a grad transfer out of South Alabama, and his potential fit in the offense?
Yeah, I mean, when we started to go down the road a little bit of just trying to provide some more depth for the room, and knew we would have the opportunity to potentially bring somebody in. There's a lot of guys out there that that jump in the transfer portal, or that are in a situation where they could be grad transfer, and so you're looking for a guy that's going to fit the needs. And I think that what we found in Cam was a guy who predominantly had been a blocker in the offense he was in, but also is a really good athlete who has potential, I think, to catch footballs. You'll have to talk to him a little bit about that, because I told him he's probably not going to block power very much like he did at his at his previous school. He's gonna have to block. Don't get me wrong, but I think you'll see some of the athleticism that when you watch the tape you see. Okay, so. But I think as far as fit into our room, I mean, he fits as a guy that has that hybrid ability. He's probably a little bit bigger than some of the guys in the room. And then I think you really can't replace experience. Quite honestly, you can't, you can't replace game time experience. And that's I think the advantage of bringing in somebody like Cam, who's a grad transfer, who's played a lot of college football. I don't think the lights are going to be too bright for him. I think it's just going to be a matter of coming in and learning the offense, and he's been an on-point guy too. I mean, he's been very responsible just in regards to the things we've asked him to do, and he had a lot of schoolwork that he did just to finish up early so he could get to IU, which is a compliment to who he is and the type of kid that we're getting. So that's all, I think, all good things, and I'm just this is funny, but I'm excited to meet him in person. So he's great, virtually, but I'm excited to meet him in person, and I can see him, on the call over here too. So, but I think he'll fit really well into the room.
Stefan, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Earlier, Coach Allen had mentioned bringing back Peyton Hendershot in a little bit of a modified way. I mean, what does that exactly mean, and how much have you gotten to work with him since then? Yeah,
I think Coach is probably, I think he hit on that, when he talked about it, a couple of weeks ago. I think he's going to talk about it more, next week. So, I think what it says is that, what he's been able to do has been modified, just as, Coach said. And now what he's doing on his own is like everybody else, so, I mean, it's a little bit different situation, but I think Coach will hit on that more, really next week with Peyton and where he's at and what that looks like going forward. So, but again, it has just been modified, and I think that's probably just the best way to put it. And excited to move forward with him and we'll get everybody back.
Rick Bozich.
Hi, Coach. Rick Bozich down here in Louisville, WDRB. As Zach mentioned earlier, you've got a lot of experience in the Indianapolis area. I think you were also at Trinity for 1 year.
Yes.
What's it like for you to be back in this area, and where do you see your primary contributions being on the IU football staff?
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously it's an area that I grew up in. I mean, I did spend a year there in Louisville, which on the east side there in St. Matthews. So that was a good experience. And then you make, every time, you move someplace, you make connections, especially, as a high school coach, you get to know guys on the ground level.
Oh. All right, stand by, guys. I thought that was me, Zach.
Great job, Steph.
It was Rick's question, not mine.
Quit deflecting blame.
He's logging back in.
All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. But I'm not, I just got a message that I froze up, so I'm not sure what you heard. But yeah, I think just the familiarity of the area. And then also when you've been a head coach for, 20 years at whatever level, and then also coordinated at the, at the Division I level, I think the experience is something that I'll fit in well. And I found that I think I do fit in really well in our offensive staff room. So excited about coaching the tight ends. It's, I can focus on, 5 or 6 guys as opposed to 120 guys. So that's kind of a nice change, but also excited for the challenge of coming to IU and trying to win a Big Ten championship.
All right, Tom Brew. Go ahead, Tom. You should be good.
All right, sorry about that. We were clicking each other off there. Hey, Coach, I know a lot of times there were moments last year in third and short situations and stuff where Indiana kind of struggled a bit. I don't know how much you've been able to break down all that film and that, but with Cam coming in, he's 270-pound guy. He's got pretty good blocking resume. Is when you're trying to match up guys for certain situations and that, how much can he help you with that?
Quite a bit. I mean, that it's one thing to have, being primarily 11 personnel where you've got one tight end on the field. When you start to get into short yardage, you got to make some decisions on what you do philosophically. And I think if you go back and you look at a lot of those situations, I had a chance to do a lot of, a lot of film study from last year. You go back and primarily got in 12 personnel. So you're in a 2 tight end set. So I think Cam, again, I think that's been a strength of his throughout his college career. And, you got a big body guy who's athletic. And, I think that anytime that, you have the ability to put 2 tight ends on the field and and run your offense, that creates issues for the defense. So, third and short's you got to be creative in the Big Ten anyway, just because of the defenses that you're going to see. So I think not only his ability to block, but also his ability, along with our other guys' ability to be used in the play action passing game, I also think will help, in those types of short yardage and maybe even goal line red zone type of situations that you're alluding to.
All right, we'll do two more before we get to Cam. John Blau.
Hey, Coach. Gary Cooper was a guy who dealt with some injuries last year, and I think kind of came on a little bit in practice. Coach Allen would talk about him a bit. What did you see from him just from those limited 4 practices, and what can he provide the offense as far as a receiving tight end?
Yeah, Coop, like I alluded to earlier, is different than anybody else in our room. He just is. I mean, he's about 225, 228 in that range. But he's one of the fastest guys on our football team. He's got good ball skills. I think last year he was used primarily in passing situations where, you're plugging in a guy who's, a little bit more of an H-back type player situation. And I think that, what he's done is, he's had a really good year in the weight room. He's added weight. He's added strength. He understands the offense, more than what he did last year, would be my assumption, just talking to him. So, I feel like even more than what we used him in the spring, where we split him out a lot, and where he was in a situation where, maybe he was a little bit more comfortable, just watch him in drill work. I think he has the potential to be like everybody else and be good blocking in the box as well as on the perimeter. So, I think it's kind of up to him. I mean, what he, the role he wants to play, because he's in a position physically where he's able to take the next step. He's able to, to get down in there and block some guys, block some of those defensive ends that maybe he struggled against last year, or potentially would have struggled against. So I think just having a year in the weight room, a year experience with him, I think will be a huge advantage. And it's kind of up to us to, to put together a package where we're able to feature his abilities and his talents because he is different, speed kills in football. And if you got a guy that can do a little bit of both at that position, you see that all the time in the NFL, where you got speed guys that can block enough, where they become major weapons in your offense. And, Coop has a chance to do that as a young player who's, really still developing.
All right, Dylan Sin, last one.
Yeah, hey, Coach. You've been obviously coaching high school for more than a decade now. You were obviously very successful at it. What made this the time that you wanted to come back to college, and what made IU the job that you wanted to come back with?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I've had the opportunity to coach in high school and, at the college level at Western Kentucky as the offensive coordinator for a couple of years. And really, I was sitting in a really good situation, where I was at at IMG. And, the opportunity, though, Coach Allen and I had talked the last couple of years. I mean, our relationship goes back, all the way to when he was on the west side of Indianapolis coaching at Ben Davis, and I was on the east side coaching at Warren Central, and so I think that, there's been a mutual respect and admiration, and just having the opportunity, IMG is a unique place because you get the opportunity to interact with, about every major head coach in FBS. I mean, from Nick Saban to Ed Orgeron, Jim Harbaugh, all those guys. And so you kind of get a feel for, what programs are like, and maybe what you feel like you could be a part of, and what might draw you to make that move. And, I just really felt like with Coach Allen and also knowing some of the other guys on staff, Mike Hart I've known forever, and Nick Sheridan I know a little bit as well prior to, if I was going to leave the situation I was going to be in, it would have to be a situation where the culture and what they're trying to build was going to be something special. And, again, it's, I hear Coach Allen talk about, his love for the state of Indiana, and grew up in the state of Indiana. And, I'm the same way. I mean, I've got a father who's been coaching, 54 years at the same high school, at Sheridan High School, just north of Indianapolis. And so that's what I was born into. And so just coming back and that challenge for me, something I embraced, and, I'm really excited about and looking forward to it. But, you know, as I've said a lot of times, you know, Coach Allen is one of the good guys in college football. You know, what he's doing, you know, he's trying to do everything right. And I was just blessed to have the opportunity to see how other people were doing it. And, you know, I think there's something a little bit different with the way, you know, Coach is trying to do it at IU. He's doing it the right way. And I'm excited about being part of that and being back in my home state. And again, being able to, you know, to connect with kids from all over the United States. And that's, you know, I think also been one of the draws is having the opportunity to bring something unique, you know, to the staff. And, you know, when you've been at the high school level and especially over the last few years where we played all across the country from, you know, California to, you know, to Washington, D.C., South Florida, all those places, you know, to have those relationships and get to know those kids and the environments. You know, I just felt like it was a right time for me and my family. Quite honestly, my daughter will be a freshman at Indiana University, so we're excited about that. My wife is a graduate. My son will be a freshman. I think he's going to end up at Bloomington South. So good time for the family and good time for me career-wise. And I'm excited about where the program's going, quite honestly. And I think that's how the IU fan base should feel because, you know, got a good young football team. A bunch of guys are excited to coach those guys and can't wait to get back. And, you know, players have been unbelievable through this, you know, this whole 8-10 week ordeal.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Cam, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Good to meet you, Cam. Thanks for waiting. Why don't we just get started, talk a little bit. I'll get you going, talk a little bit about why you chose IU.
I chose IU. I felt like things were like gravitating towards IU. Like it would be weird. Maybe I see something about Indiana or I don't know, maybe coach would text me out of the blue. I'll be doing something else, working out. Like it was really weird. But like I just like everything about IU. Like I talked to Coach Allen. I like everything he preached. I felt like he was a good guy. I feel like he got my best interests at heart. Just things like all the coaching staff was cool. I knew Coach Womack from South. We had a pretty good relationship. I'm cool with him, and he's a great, genuine dude. So you know, I'm glad he's on staff. Just everything. Of course, facilities, everything. It just seemed like everything was pointing in Indiana's direction, and I just feel the coaching staff is right to help me develop into a better player and reach some of my future goals.
All right, great. Kevin Brockway, why don't you start?
Hi, Cam. I had a chance to talk to your former high school coach yesterday, Bill Wiles, and he mentioned a text message that you sent him after you signed with Indiana. I'm just curious about maybe how you've evolved in terms of your maturity and work ethic in your 4 years at South Alabama, and what did you learn through that experience?
College was great. Like I can say I grew as a person. Of course, in high school, if you talk to Coach Wiles, he'll tell you, like he'll have to pick me up a workout. I wouldn't be wanting to go. Like, you know, I was not like fully committed. You know, so it was like when I got to college, I seen like what I can really do and like the player I could become and what I could become in the future, like provide family and stuff like that. And it kind of like pushed me to grow. And it just made me think like, you know, it's bigger than me. You feel me? I got an opportunity to do something great. So why not give it my all now, you know? So, yes,
Sammy Jacobs.
Good morning, Cam. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. You know, describe your fit into this offensive system and just give us a little bit of an overview of what you bring to the tight end room as a player.
As a player, I think I bring toughness and physicality. I'm prideful with my physicality with blocking. At South, you know, I kind of had a role of being a blocker because of our offense. So, you know, I take pride in it. And, you know, I just wanted to win. So it's like, you know, I'm going to give my all for my teammates and stuff like that. But I think I have I'm really good in the passing game, and I think I get an opportunity to show it in this offense. And like Coach said, I was kind of a hybrid. And I was bigger here. I kind of adapted to my role. but I usually play at like around 255, and feel good running routes, But I think just overall, just my physicality, and I think I'm just gonna lead by example and try to, buy in, let all my teammates know I'm bought in, like I want to win, like I'm here for y'all, like Leo, like Coach said, Leo. So yeah.
Zach, go ahead.
Cam, Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star. And forgive me, I don't know kind of what your whole process was like, but I imagine at least some of it probably overlapped with what's going on right now. Just kind of how do you go through that process of trying to figure out where you want to go, and I guess you call it re-recruitment when all of this is going on around you in terms of not being able to go places and everything being shut down.
It was tough because, yeah, of course I couldn't travel, couldn't visit there. It was tough. Like, I guess I had to do a lot of background research. I had a lot of questions for like Coach Wright, Coach Allen, just asking them about coaching styles, offense, like how I fit, things like that. I just really went in depth with like really what I wanted out of myself, what I pictured myself doing, and who would like bring the most out of me. And I just felt like, Indiana was that place that would do that for me.
John Blau.
You mentioned being able to play at about 255. Obviously, I think you've been listed at about 270. I mean, do you have a weight that you want to play at? And do you feel like, again, we look at your stats, we look at the size, and we see blocking tight end. I mean, how much more can you improve as a receiver, do you think?
I think I just need the opportunity. I didn't at South didn't get to run a lot of routes in games, didn't get a lot of targets, and I just feel like I'm gonna make the most of the play when it comes my way. The weight I play at, I like to play. I feel comfortable at like 255. Sometimes I can play at 260, I can play at 270, but 255 is where I feel the fastest, where I feel like good, if that makes sense. So yes, sir.
Olivia, do you have one?
I'm good.
Okay. Lou Friedman, go ahead.
Yes, Cam, welcome to Indiana. Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And did the Big Ten play any role in your choice? And in a second part of that is Coach Wright just said he was looking forward to meeting you, which sounds like a pretty weird situation to be in, that you had to make your choice and you still haven't met your position coach.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's that's pretty weird. But all the schools that recruited me, it was kind of like, the same way. Like, didn't get to visit for real. I still would have to meet them in person. And playing in the Big Ten, like, I know it's a bigger stage, but at the same time, I feel like it's gonna better prepare me for like my future goals. Everything's bigger, like the facilities, everything. I feel like it's just gonna put me in the right position. And so I guess I can say, yeah, that played a small role in it. Sure.
Dylan.
Yeah, I guess obviously, Cam, you haven't been able to visit IU yet. How excited are you to actually get on campus and see Bloomington and see where you're going to be living for the next year?
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just ready, like, to get going, get up there, meet everybody, and just start the process of, building a better team. And Indiana's already a great team, but I'm just ready to get started with everybody and get everything going. I can't wait. I haven't been I'm pretty sure I haven't been anywhere up north like that, so I'm just excited. I know it's gonna be cold, so but I'm ready for it.
Rick Bozich. Where's Rick? Rick, you gotta unmute.
All right, there we go. I'm not doing too good. That's 3 errors on me. Cam, thanks for doing this. My question is, have you had much chance to watch IU on video, Mike Penix and the whole offense? And if so, what have your impressions been?
Oh yeah, I got to see a good number of them on YouTube and things like that. I haven't seen much like exos of them, but I've seen a lot of YouTube, and I just like the way I like the way we play. I like the way we pass the ball. Obviously, Mike Penix, he looks like a great quarterback. I'm seeing a lot of articles and things about him. I'm just ready to get working with him and build chemistry. I know we have great receivers, Wab Fillier, Frank Fry Global. Those guys are great, great athletes. Peyton was great, tight end. Like, I just see, it's like everybody is like, I want to fit in, and I want to show them guys, like, I can play too. So it's like, I'm just excited, and I feel like they're going to push me to better myself, playing around guys that are that talented, So, yes, sir.
All right, Cam, thanks for the time. Welcome to IU. See you
Yes,
soon.
sir. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you up.
All right, bud. Take care.
All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you, sir.